Hi, it's Katrina. From an enormous fortress on a rock to a sacred site that glows red, here are 9 of the most mysterious places on Earth. Number 9. Sigiriya. Located in the mountains of Sri Lanka's central province, Sigiriya sits atop a massive rock column that juts nearly 660 feet into the air from the ground below. Humans have always seemed to really like this rock. Its history of human habitation dates back at least 5,000 years to the Mesolithic period. It's perfect because you can see for miles around, and the rock would have been hard for enemies to access. From the 3rd century BC to the 1st century AD, Buddhist monks and ascetics lived in rock shelters and caves at the site. Ascetics are people who practice severe self-discipline and isolation for religious purposes. According to legend, King Kashyapa I chose the site as his new capital in 477 AD, shortly after forcefully seizing the throne from the previous ruler. He named it Sigiriya, which translates to Lion's Rock. Fearing that the rightful heir, Moggallana, would come after him, Kashyapa I saw the elevated rock as an ideal location. He turned the site into an elaborate city and fortress complete with defensive structures, palaces, and gardens. By the terraced gardens, there was a long corridor with one side covered with frescoes and poetry, and on the other side was the mirror wall. It stretched for 656 feet and was so highly polished that you could see the artwork from the other side reflected on it. The mirror wall is almost still intact and has lasted for 15 centuries, serving as a testament to the engineers and artisans who built the wall. But Moggallana returned to get his revenge, and in 495 AD, he defeated Kashyapa, whose armies abandoned him. He then committed suicide. Moggallana converted Sigiriya into a Buddhist monastery complex, and it also served as the capital for several kingdoms, but the site was ultimately abandoned sometime during the 13th or 14th century. After being used briefly as an outpost of the Kingdom of Kandy during the 16th and 17th century, the site was then forgotten. Sigiriya was rediscovered in 1831, and today you can visit this magical place for yourself. Number 8. A rare castle. An ancient Dutch castle found in the Netherlands last year is the oldest of its type ever discovered in the country. Archaeologist Nancy de Jong made the incredible find in May 2020 via a geophysical survey which revealed oddly elevated portions of land. She couldn't believe her luck. The location was at the Oud Haarlem Castle complex built around 1248. Nancy was shocked by the discovery because the property had already been surveyed during the 1960s, which is when they found the castle complex. But this was another castle that was buried just a few meters away. The castle was around for about 100 years before it was destroyed during a war. Nothing was done to the site after the castle's destruction, leaving what's left of it in good condition. Measuring 148 feet by 148 feet, it had several halls, towers, stables, and other rooms and outbuildings. The researchers were surprised to find that the structure was a square castle, a type of building which was only thought to be built after 1280, during the rule of Floris V, 30 years after it was constructed under Wilhelm II. Now everyone is getting ready to start digging and search for artifacts. Number 7. Florida's Lost City. Deep in the Everglades in far western Broward County, Florida, sits the remnants of a so-called lost city that was once home to a large Seminole village. According to legend, 30 to 40 Confederate soldiers sought refuge at the 3-acre site after stealing Union gold, only to be killed by the Seminoles. Later on, rumor also had it that the notorious mobster Al Capone manufactured moonshine there during the 1930s. Over the years, archaeologists and state wildlife officials have found an array of artifacts, including items of Native American origin, a canoe, shacks, and an iron kettle that was once used to distill sugarcane into alcohol. Many items are hundreds, even thousands of years old, while others indicate that the site also saw activity during the early 20th century. Seminole Miccosukee Archives Director Patsy West said that the site appears to have been used as a bootlegging facility during the Prohibition era. The iron kettle may have been used by the Seminoles, Al Capone's crew, or both. Everyone was making alcohol in the swamp. Records show that Capone owned a nearby saloon, but that he was the only known organized crime connection there. There may be more to the lost city's history that nobody knows about, and it's possible that several Native American groups reused the site over time, according to archaeologist Dave Carr. While the Florida State Archives lists the lost city as an archaeological site, there is not much to see there today. It's not marked on any maps, and it's covered in thick, overgrown vegetation. In other words, you have to know precisely what you're looking for to even find it. Number 6. Maes Howe. Situated on the main island of Scotland's Orkney archipelago, Maes Howe is a Neolithic grave dating back to around 2800 BC. Measuring 115 feet in diameter and 24 feet high, the burial mound is one of Orkney's largest tombs. The mound contains chambers and passages built from massive flagstone slabs weighing as much as 30 tons. During the winter solstice, the rear wall of the central chamber lights up, suggesting that the site's builders practiced a form of spiritualism associated with astronomy. Excavations began in 1861 and soon revealed a series of more than 30 runic inscriptions, representing the world's largest single collection of these types of carvings. They date back to the 12th century, when famous Vikings looted the site. Some archaeologists believe that the Norse people made second-hand use of Maes Howe, as evidenced by the external wall surrounding the ditch, which was rebuilt during the 9th century, and that they left behind the treasures that were eventually found and taken by looters. Unfortunately, because of the damage done and the items taken, experts are quite limited on what they can learn from what's left of the site today. Number 5. Nevada Ghost Town. While browsing Google Earth recently, a TikToker named Jason Klein came across an array of creepy hooded men in the town of Rhyolite, Nevada. He shared the eerie discovery on social media, which includes street view images of a hooded figure standing over a bicycle and a circle of them engaging in what appeared to be some type of ritual or ceremony. Situated roughly 120 miles outside Las Vegas in Nye County, Rhyolite was established in the early 20th century as a mining camp for fortune seekers who flocked to the nearby Bullfrog mining district in hopes of striking it big. Residents fled when nervous investors caused the Montgomery-Shoshone Mine Company's stock value to plummet in 1911. Rhyolite's population declined to less than 1,000, and within a decade, it was close to zero. Klein's post went viral, and people online were initially baffled by the sight. As it turns out, the hooded figures that Klein noticed are a collection of sculptures created by Belgian artist Albert Zukalski. They aren't real people at all. At first glance, it's easy to mistake them for real people, and either way, their presence in the ghost town is a little unsettling. Number 4. A monument hidden in plain sight. Archaeologists recently identified an ancient structure hidden in plain sight at the Maya city-state of Tikal in northern Guatemala's lowlands, thanks to sophisticated technology that enables researchers to see through thick vegetation and centuries' worth of accumulated soil. Using laser scanning equipment called LiDAR, they were able to identify a distinct collection of buildings, including a pyramid that are unlike anything else they've seen at Tikal. The structures appear to be a smaller-scale replica of the Citadel, an enormous square of architecture at Teotihuacan, located over 800 miles to the west in modern-day Mexico City. As part of the South Tikal Archaeological Project, a team led by director Edwin Roman Ramirez physically explored the site, where they discovered burials, architecture, and artifacts, including ceramics and weapons resembling those found at Teotihuacan. The groundbreaking discovery shows the extent of the distant capital's influence and relationship with Tikal, and reflects a melting pot of cultures and languages, much like we see in some of today's major cities, according to geographer Thomas Garrison, who spoke with National Geographic. The newly identified buildings are not definitive proof that people from Teotihuacan lived at Tikal, but that a group of people who were familiar with the culture lived there for over a century in their own established colony. While an isotopic analysis of bones found at the site should provide more insight into the settlement's history, researchers believe that it was built sometime before the 3rd century. In 378, Teotihuacan's ruler had Tikal's king overthrown and installed his son as the new emperor. Experts are unsure what sparked the falling out between the two societies, who had been allies for several decades, but the recently discovered remains of elite Maya residents who were slaughtered at Teotihuacan, along with destroyed Maya murals, suggest that a culture clash was at play. Number 3. Reshot Structure. Nicknamed the Eye of the Sahara, the Reshot Structure is an eroded geological dome located in the Adrar Plateau in the northwest African nation of Mauritania. Measuring 25 miles in diameter, it exposes layers of igneous and sedimentary rock arranged in concentric circles. The rocks exposed toward the center of the bullseye formation are older than those on the outside, according to NASA, and layers that were once connected have been separated by shifting visible faults. Because the Reshot Structure is visible from space, early astronauts used it as a geographical landmark while passing over the Sahara. Most of Mauritania's population of 3.7 million lives about 300 miles from the Reshot Structure along the Atlantic coastline, and the remote geological oddity's origins have long been a topic of debate. Scientists originally believed it was an impact crater of some sort, perhaps created by a space object that crashed into the Earth. Research conducted during the 1950s and 60s indicated, however, that the Reshot Structure was formed by terrestrial processes. A 2011 study concluded that low-temperature hydrothermal waters were responsible for the site's formation. However, it looks like early humans used this place. Artifacts found along the structure's outermost depression were determined to be of pre-Acheulean and Acheulean origin, meaning that they consist of simple hand tools associated with our early hominid relative, Homo erectus. Scientists don't know much about the Reshot Structure or its history of human use, and more exploration is needed to untangle the burning questions surrounding exactly what it is, how it formed, and its significance to our ancestors. Number 2. Coral Castle. Made from over 1,000 tons of sedimentary rock, Coral Castle can be found in Miami-Dade County, Florida. It consists of slab walls, tables, chairs, a crescent moon, a water fountain, and a sundial, all made from oolite limestone. Legend holds that a man named Edward Leedskalnin single-handedly built the site using reverse magnetism, or supernatural abilities, until his death in 1951. Leedskalnin supposedly constructed Coral Castle after his young lover abandoned him, leaving him heartbroken. He was a small man, weighing 100 pounds and measuring 5 feet tall, so a lot of people wonder, how did he build this by himself? An information sheet that hangs at Coral Castle describes it as an engineering marvel and scientifically inexplicable. Furthermore, Coral Castle's website claims that the site has baffled scientists, engineers, and scholars since its opening in 1923. Live Science reports that for decades the park featured a perfectly balanced stone gate that, despite its weight, would easily swing open with a strong breeze or the push of a finger. Nobody knew how it worked until it stopped moving and someone went to fix it. When the gate was removed, it was revealed that it rotated on a metal shaft and rested on a truck bearing. Leedskalnin was creative and loved to use all kinds of tools, pulleys, tripods, and who knows what else to make his creations come to life. But some believe he whispered to the stones to make them move, or that he had psychic powers. While the place is magical, with modern equipment and an entire crew, you could probably replicate the place in a few months. So it's not surprising, after all, that Leedskalnin built it all on his own. Orville Irwin, a contractor and longtime friend of Leedskalnin, even wrote a book describing exactly how Coral Castle was built, dismissing the many bizarre theories of the site being the product of superpowers. In Irwin's words, Leedskalnin's was a generation who knew accomplishments by the sweat of their brow. Hard work and imagination made it happen. Number 1. Uluru. Also known as Ayers Rock, Uluru is a large isolated sandstone formation in the southern part of Australia's Northern Territory. This remote rock lies 208 miles from the nearest large town of Alice Springs and is surrounded by watering holes, rock caves, and ancient artwork. At 1,142 feet high and with a 5.8-mile perimeter and a reputation for glowing red at dawn and at sunset, it is quite the sight to behold. Uluru is sacred to the area's Aboriginal and Nangu people and is one of Australia's most important Indigenous sites. To scientists, it's a fascinating geological feature known as an inselberg, or an island mountain. Inselbergs are usually found in dry, flat regions and are characterized by an isolated knob or a hill that juts out from the land below it. The massive formation originally started out as sand, which condensed to form a type of sandstone called arkose. The layers of sand were deposited horizontally, most likely during the Paleozoic age between 300 and 400 million years ago, and eventually turned nearly vertical during a later episode of mountain building. Uluru was once home to 46 known native mammal species, but now consists of just 21, including 7 bat populations. There are 6 invasive creatures at the site, including mice, camels, foxes, cats, dogs, and rabbits. Activists are campaigning for the reintroduction of locally extinct animals, such as the rufous hair wallaby, the bilby, malleefowl, common brushtail possum, burrowing betong, and black-flanked rock wallaby. There are many Aboriginal myths and legends tied to Uluru, including stories of creation about the area still being inhabited by ancestral spiritual beings. Another tale claims that 2 boys who were playing in the mud after a rainfall began to fight, and their bodies were preserved as large boulders. In one account, serpent beings engage in harsh warfare around Uluru, resulting in the scarring of the rock that is visible today in the forms of cracks and crevices. These are just some of the legends surrounding Uluru, where visitors are cautioned against taking rocks or other souvenirs at the risk of becoming cursed and suffering misfortune. In the past, people have even mailed back mementos they took from the site in hopes of shaking their bad luck. Thanks for watching! Do you believe in cursed objects? If you took something, would you give it back? Let me know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!